Let's jump into Fluke for real, though, Wes. We got a lot of people to go over here. Let's jump through it. It's going to be a fun time here. Starting out with the Texans, C.J. Stroud, Tank Dell, Noah Brown, and Dalton Schultz. All these guys. Fluke for real.
They're all for real. I'm going to push back on Noah Brown, though, because I don't know exactly if that's just because C.J. Stroud balled out incredibly.
Right.
Nico Collins had a pretty good game as well. He didn't get as hyped up, but Nico looked great. So for the time being, they're all for real, but I'll say Fluke on Noah Brown.
Yeah, I need to see a little bit more there. I have seen him more involved, but need to see a little bit more explosiveness and big plays from him for me to be able to roll him out there. Josh Dobbs, just mentioned it, 28.9 fantasy points. A little bit high. This may be more of a ceiling play, but is he going to be okay in Minnesota?
I think he's going to be just fine. And the biggest part for me of why it'll be great, because sooner or later he's going to get Justin Jefferson back. But take a look at this. 7 rushes, 66 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown. That's fantasy value right there. So even though he's got some top talented playmakers around him, that's for real.
Yeah, definitely for real there. Rachaad White, a guy we talked about, said, hey, maybe it's time to trade for Rachaad White. 3rd game in a row now. He is doing some great things just off of really, it feels like volume, honestly. 28 fantasy points, 20 carries, 70 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and then 4 catches on 4 targets. He still has such a high catch rate. He has only dropped 1 target this year. I mean, I think this is for real, Wes.
No doubt. I mean, even if you take away the touchdowns, it's still you're not losing because of Rachaad White. So,
right.
I mean, you're going to get 8.6 just off of PPR. I really like that. So this is absolutely for real.
Absolutely. Cole Kmet. Pretty big day for tight ends on Sunday. Some guys we're going to talk about here. 23.5 fantasy points. Yet another game in the Chicago Bears offense where he's doing really well. I personally think this is for real. What do you think, Wes?
I think so. And even when Justin Fields is back, this is for real because it seems that Kmet carried some people in that tight end position with Bijan, and Justin Fields has a connection with him as well. So this is for real even when it transitions back into Justin Fields.
Definitely, yeah. Lots of for reals so far. I think we might be getting our first fluke here, though. Cade Otton, 23 fantasy points, 6 catches, 70 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 9 targets. What do you think, Wes?
I like that he got a lot of red zone targets.
Me too.
I do like that, but it's hard to say this is for real when there's Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Rachaad White. I would put as a higher priority in the looks in the passing reads for Baker Mayfield. So I'm going to say fluke.
I am as well. I definitely think I am as well. Ramondre Stevenson, Wes, your stud for week 9, and boy, was he ever.
Yeah, baby.
Points, 9 carries for 87 yards and a touchdown, and a big touchdown run. 4 catches on 42 yards on 6 targets there. Fluke for real.
Here's why you can have confidence this is for real, because you may look at that 9 carries and you might say, that doesn't seem sustainable. It's not. But Ramondre Stevenson is incredibly sustainable in the PPR volume. He had over 100 targets last season. This is his bread and butter. The 6 targets that turned into 42 receiving yards. That is the same thing as Rachaad White. Why this is for real and why. Oh, man, their schedule coming up is so plump and juicy for Ramondre Stevenson, my guy. Absolutely for real.
Absolutely. A big reason why he was my trade for target was back in week 5, week 6. The schedule was not pretty for him at the beginning of the year. He's coming out of that and into a great schedule, and we've seen him have some great weeks. I believe he is the RB5 over the last month. That is some exciting stuff to see and some good things to see there as well. Jake Ferguson, baby, 7 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown. Puts together a great day, 23.1 fantasy points. What do you think on Jake Ferguson, Wes?
Fire him up, dude. For real. I like this a lot. And that's something that we noticed last week was like 3 catches, 3 targets, not great. But that touchdown catch from the week before was solid. We both felt good about it. And, 10 targets when you're going up against the Eagles and you need the best playmakers on your team to get you in the end zone. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's for real?
This is for real. He is emerging as Dak Prescott's is the second target on this offense. It is not Brandon Cooks. It's not Michael Gallup. It's not Tony Pollard. It is Jake Ferguson. And this is something that at the beginning of the year, first couple weeks, something we said was not Dalton Schultz. Dak Prescott likes the tight end spot. He prefers to throw to that. We saw it with Dalton Schultz. And now we're seeing it here with Jake Ferguson as well. Exciting things to come for Jake Ferguson. I'm excited about it. Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith. 21 fantasy points, 5 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown on 6 targets. And a carry. Man, that was interesting. Huh. What do we think, Wes? Looking for real on Jonnu Smith.
He carried the football?
Yeah.
Are they short on running backs or something?
Apparently
Did they not
so.
have any? I thought they had a couple of good running backs back there.
Yeah, I thought they drafted one pretty early on, and I thought they drafted another tight
Okay.
end pretty early on a couple years ago too. We'll talk about that in just a sec.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's just
Yeah. Okay. You know what I will say? I will say this is for real because it goes against everything we know about talent. No disrespect to Jonnu Smith. We're next. We next. Let's just.
We'll get there in just a sec.
We'll get to the meat of this.
Okay. Hey, Keaton Mitchell, rookie running back for the Baltimore Ravens, and boy, he was ready to show up for the team. 20.4 fantasy points, 9 rushes for 138 yards and a touchdown. Also had 1 catch on 1 target for a few negative yards. But, listen, this guy had been talked about a lot coming into the season. A guy that people thought, hey, this is sneaky little guy. He's starting on IR, but when he comes back, he might be something. What do you think on Keaton Mitchell, Wes?
18% snap count is why I'm not going to run out the gate to add him as a waiver wire. Yeah. I will see if he's available and if I want to drop someone and pick him up maybe as a late sleeper postseason flex option. But for the time being, I'm just going to have to say Fluke.
Yeah, I think so as well, but I think there could be things coming just based off of how the game went. We'll have to wait and see. T. Higgins had a big game. 19 fantasy points, 8 catches on 9 targets for 110 yards. Almost had a touchdown in this game. What do you think, Wes?
I think before the Jamar Chase news, I was still going to say this is for real just as much as it is with Jalen Waddle, where it's like you line him up because you know that when he hits pretty good, and this is great. Now, especially without Jamar Chase, if that is to be the case, then yes, you start the wide receiver 1 to a Joe Burrow offense, no doubt about it.
100%. This is for real. Aaron Jones came back onto the scene there, had a lot of opportunities on Sunday against the Rams, 17.9 fantasy points. Wes, Fluke for real?
I'm going to say this is for real.
I think he's back.
Some great stats. And we found out going into the week that Matt LaFleur announced that Aaron Jones was finally 100% from his hamstring injury he had in week 1, when he also had a really good fantasy stat line. So it's similar in the way that Robert Saleh said that Breece Hall was on a snap count and now he wasn't, and then he was going to cut him loose. LaFleur cut Aaron Jones loose, and 20 carries with 6 targets. That is cookies. That is cookies.
That is cookies if I've ever seen cookies. Joe Mixon, 17.8 fantasy points. Atrociously inefficient, but gets in the end zone and is involved in the passing game. Wes, what do we think?
I don't want to be a Joe Mixon hater. I don't want to be that guy. I don't buy it. I think he's good enough to be a starting running back for a team that has one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and that's fine. But I mean, trade him, sell high. Find someone that has some running back that's hurt or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Potentially, yeah. I think this is fluky, but I can't really turn away from 20 opportunities too quickly. especially in an offense that might be losing their top playmaker. So maybe hold on to him for this week and see if he has another big game if Jamar Chase is out, and then sell even higher. But I mean,
that's fair.
I'm a Joe Mixon hater.
Wait for Chase's.
It's true. I think he is a very overrated fantasy football running back. I think last year his 55-point game carried him to his top 10 running back finish. So I don't know. Maybe see what happens this week, but I'm not holding my breath for Joe Mixon. Alexander Mattison, 17.3 fantasy points, 2 catches for 49 yards and a touchdown through the air. What do we think, Wes? I mean, with no Cam Akers, I think it's hard to bench Alexander Mattison now.
I agree. I think it's hard to bench him. I think when you look at the quarterback situation as well, and you think about the way James Conner was performing with Josh Dobbs and how there was seemed to be the only Arizona Cardinal to start. I'm still going to push back, actually. I'm still going to push back and say this is fluky because I cannot imagine there is a better opportunity to sell Alexander Mattison than right now when we are maybe a week away from Justin Jefferson returning. And I mean, people are very thin. You may also be very thin on Alexander or on running backs, and you may want to keep Madison. But if there was ever a time to trade Madison to get a missing piece, because I'm sure by this point you haven't been starting Madison like myself, I think now is the best time to do so. So that is why I'm actually going to say this is a fluke.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Jahan Dotson, 3rd week in a row, he's been pretty involved in this offense. I think this is something we've complained about this year of what is the target distribution of this Washington Commanders team? Why do they not give the ball to their top playmakers? What's going on? 3 weeks in a row now they have. I think I'm coming around on Jahan Dotson. Where are you at, Wes?
I'm coming around him too. I mean, you do it 3 times in a row on a team that felt very confusing with. This is the 3rd straight week with 8 targets.
Yeah.
I have to say for real. There's no other way around it.
I believe so as well. Yeah, definitely. Dalton Kincaid is we said it. It's Dalton Kincaid's season, and it proved it again. A 3rd straight week of being a top 10 tight end. 16.1 fantasy points, 10 catches for 81 yards. Did have the fumble, which is why he didn't get bumped up to 18 points. The big one here for me, Wes, 11 targets. 11 targets for Dalton Kincaid. You know how many Gabe Davis had? 2. He had 0 fantasy points. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about him so he doesn't go off next week. But Dalton Kincaid is involved in the offense, especially for these next 2 weeks, for sure, without Dawson Knox. And I don't know. I read something this week after the game about tight end matchups and which are the most positive ones to play fantasy tight ends in, and it's the New York Jets, surprisingly, with even though their defense is very good.
That's right.
And the Denver Broncos, surprisingly, even though Travis Kelce had a pretty bad game against them 2 weeks ago. And in the next 2 weeks, Dalton Kincaid plays the New York Jets and the Denver Broncos. So it's going to be fantastic. I'm very excited to keep rolling out Dalton Kincaid. It's going to be fun. Odell Beckham Jr. Hey, he had a game. There you go. 14.6 fantasy points. If you throw him in there on a desperation play, good job. 5 catches, 7 targets for 56 yards and a touchdown. I mean, this is a fluke to me. But Wes, what do you think?
I think that's what happens when you win 36-3. You let your second string players get a shot.
Yeah, I was going to say the touchdown from Tyler Huntley. It was the funniest part of all of that, is that it's like Lamar didn't throw a touchdown. It took Tyler Huntley coming into the game to get a passing touchdown there. Yeah, this is a fluke in my opinion. Luke Musgrave, 3 catches, 4 targets for 51 yards, but he gets a touchdown. 14.1 fantasy points. What do you think, Wes?
I'm going to be straight up honest. When I was looking at the draft class and I was looking at the tight ends, I think Luke Musgrave is pretty trash. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I don't think he's a very good tight end. I think I think the Packers did a pretty bad job drafting him. So I'm going to be against Luke Musgrave as long as Fourth and Troll exists. No disrespect.
Right.
I just think he's not. I don't think he's good. So There it is.
That's gonna go.
Fluke.
That's gonna go on the merch. Is just you. It's gonna be like an animated drawing of you holding up a picture of Luke Musgrave, and there's a big red X through it. That's gonna be
Yes, please.
That's gonna be the merch. There
Please.
you go. Devontae Smith, same exact stat line: 14.1 fantasy points, 3 catches on 3 targets, 51 yards and a touchdown. This is something to discuss, though, real quick, just because we saw it last year. Dallas Goedert goes out. Devontae Smith comes onto the scene hot. I'm ready to say this is for real. And this will be for real for the next month. They've got a bye week, and then they'll have 3 games. I'm not sure how. I'm not fully sure how. I'm not fully sure how IR works, but we'll get at least 3, if not 4 games of an Eagles offense without Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith. I'm saying for real. I'm ready to. If I have him in leagues, I'm firing him up.
I hate this stat line. 3 targets. Oh my gosh. And just I was a great touchdown. That was a nice looking touchdown. I mean, toe tap and ballet, whatever you want to call it. I hate this stat. And I'm obligated to keep. Oh my gosh. The amount of players that I was going to package Devonta Smith with to trade for, oh man! And then this Dallas Goedert news comes out, and it's like, frick, heck, oh, dirty underwear. I have to keep him. I have to call this for real. I'm so bothered. The emotions are all over. I was such a high Devonta Smith fan. Like, I was over the moon about him going into the season. And then, like, I hate him. I hate this man. I can't stand him. And now I'm stuck with him because he's about to ball out.
Yeah, I think he has to stay in the lineup. Yeah.
Pretty pissed.
Their first game back is against Kansas City. And I know Kansas City will be concerned heavily with shutting down A.J. Brown. So maybe some opportunities there. That's going to be a crazy game. We're all eyes on Devontae Smith for that game, for sure. Last one here. Jalen Tolbert, Fluke. I mean,
who?
Second-year wide receiver for the Cowboys who found his way to be open. 5 targets, but I mean, that's Fluke. Not happening this year for you either. That's it for the good side. Let's jump to the bad side to break down some of these guys we got to talk about here. Starting out with an elite duo in L.A. for the Rams. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. A combined 5 catches for 80 yards between the two of them. That's fast math, by the way. I did not have that written down. I just did that real quick off of the sideline I saw there.
I'm completely attracted to you. I've never been more attracted to any human than right now.
Fast math. Put me on Who Wants to Be Smarter Than a 5th Grader, dude. I'm going to put those elementary school kids in the dirt. Anyways, listen. These performances are not what you wanted here, Wes. I was texting you multiple times this week, sending in the group chats of some of our leagues we're in together. In the Trollers League, actually, I said, listen, I got to come to you guys on this one. What do you guys think? I'm thinking about benching Puka for Rashee Rice. Like, I don't trust this potential injury. Coming out of that game, feel good about the injury. He still was heavily involved, still played a ton, still got 7 targets. But Brett Rippin is terrible. It's so bad. Dude, I saw an Instagram comment where someone called him Brett Rippin Farts.
Sick bird.
And I was like, that's a pretty good one, dude. Brett Rippin Farts did not connect with these guys at all. It was terrible. Ended up being the right play to start Rashee over Puka. I still lost to you in the Trollers League, Wes, and still lost
Justin
in our
Herbert
main league
didn't help
as well.
you.
But yeah, Herbert did not help at all. What the heck? This is flukes for these guys. Once Stafford is back, they'll be right back to normal. I mean,
well,
Cooper Kupp may be a conversation though. Well, I guess that is the question.
When is Stafford back?
Well, they didn't put him on IR, so they don't.
True.
They have the bye week, and then he'll be back. Maybe he's not back for week 11, but if they didn't put him on IR, I have to think he'll be back by week 12. So maybe one more week And if they come off the bye week and Stafford isn't ready, maybe it's another week where you do have to. If they don't have Stafford, I will be benching Puka again. I don't trust it. It's not something that I'm going to roll them out with Brett Rippin farts. I'm just going to roll them out with Stafford whenever he's back. But I believe for that time they are. This is for real. They won't be involved. It's not going to be good. But when Stafford is back,
right,
I think we can roll these guys out. Kupp is a little concerning. It's not been great, but he's still Cooper Kupp. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah. I think that's important to note is that if Stafford is not the quarterback, it is totally legitimate to bench Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua because these are must-win weeks now. These are the final few weeks before we get into the fantasy playoffs. So by the time Stafford is back, it may be the first week of fantasy or first week of playoffs. So if you are just praying that Puka and Kupp end up in the end zone with Brett Rippin, that's probably a good sign that you're not going to get those last few wins you need to make the playoffs. So with Brett Rippin, this is for real.
Yep, definitely. Bijan Robinson. 5.9 fantasy points.
Yeah.
Why does Arthur Smith have a job? This was my thought process. And when in the preseason, Wes, you said, who do you think could be getting fired this year before the season ends? And I said Arthur Smith. I said Arthur Smith because I think they're early enough. These guys on their offense that are weapons are still young. That they can bring in a new head coach, have a new regime, and they can still. They're not going to be too far down the road where it's like you gotta do a ton of damage control. What? You're in a game where you lose to a 4-day-old quarterback on a comeback victory, and you're featuring Tyler Algier and Jonnu Smith. I understand that Bijan Robinson fumbled the ball. I understand. Guess what? That doesn't matter. He has been outsnapped and has been getting less touches than Tyler Algier for yet another week in a row. Why do you draft the guy? Why do you draft the guy that early for him to be a backup running back to Tyler Algier? And I'm a Tyler Algier truther. I love Tyler Algier. He should be starting and getting more reps than Bijan Robinson. Jonnu Smith should not be starting and getting more reps and more targets than Kyle Pitts. What are we doing here? What are we doing? Arthur Smith should not have a job. He should be fired. We're getting reports on Monday about Arthur Smith says Drake London will be back. Arthur Smith says this. Why is Arthur Smith saying anything? Why? Why is he reporting to media? Why is he not in Arthur Blank's office right now getting fired and getting a spanking on the way out for his poor performance? What are we doing here? What is going on? I know Falcons fans can't be happy. It's not even just fantasy managers. Your fan base is pissed off at you, dude. What are you doing? It is such poor usage of such elite talent. What is going on? I don't understand.
It just reminds me of Kyle Pitts, who was drafted as the earliest tight end taken in NFL history, and there is another generational talent that is being jeopardized because they are under Arthur Smith. And for whatever reason, Jonnu Smith is the best fantasy option from the Atlanta Falcons right now. I mean, legitimately, from this week, the Week 9 results, I'm elated by this trade I made. I traded away Bijan Robinson and Brandon Ayuk, and I got Ramondre Stevenson and Devontae Adams. And after Week 1, I would have been called stupid. Yeah. But here we are right now, And I feel very good because I just traded away a backup running back.
Yeah.
I traded away a backup running back to get a starting running back and a starting wide receiver. I literally traded away backups. Because that is how Bijan... Right. Going into this, feel amazing. And I went into this. I went into the season, like a lot of other people, considering Bijan to be one of the best players that we will see, a shoo-in for Rookie of the Year. We had no idea C.J. Stroud was going to be this great, but it wouldn't. I thought he was going to be LaDainian Tomlinson. He still can. I mean, everything can still turn around the next few weeks, but there's no sign that it will.
What are we doing here? What?
This is it. This is his season. This is for real. I mean, this is it. I mean, I would rather. I don't know if I can make the decision because of the name value, but like it feels like a better option to start Tyler Algier. It feels like we've got.
At this point it does.
A lot of players we should be starting instead of Bijan, but we can't not because we took him in the first round because we know he's this good because he's a rookie. Rookie running backs do so great.
You got into the 5-yard line. You got inside the 5. Your play progression went false start, screen pass to Jonnu Smith, end around reverse to Jonnu Smith, and then rush by Tyler Algier. What are we doing here? What are we doing? Bijan Robinson is running for 5 yards a carry. Oh my gosh. It is incompetent. How does he have a job? How does he have a job? I don't understand how Arthur Smith was not fired Monday morning first thing. If he keeps his job through the offseason, listen, we might have a report by Friday's episode, but if he keeps his job if he is the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, the start of the 2024 season, they need to be investigated for like him being in the witness protection program and like him just needing to like keep having a job. Like he's got a job. Like I don't know what's going on. I don't understand. We can move on. I'm so frustrated and I freaking hate Arthur Smith, dude. This guy sucks.
He's ruining not just fantasy players, but like the potential and future of these very, 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 very talented players. And it's we're watching players' careers wash down the drain. First, he loses to Will Levis in his first career start, and then he loses to a quarterback who was on the team for 4 days. And
how does he have a job? I don't get it. I don't understand. This is disappointing, and I'm mad about it. Let's move on here. All right, James Cook, 7.9 fantasy points. Another down week. He started strong, 2 down games, two good games. Now 2 down games. 6 carries for 20 yards, semi-efficient. Just 4 catches, but 4 targets for 19. It's just it feels like it was something that was said early on with us. Wes was in games where they're kind of just winning pretty well, heavily, just easily. It seems like he's going to be more involved. In games where they're not, he doesn't seem to have much of an opportunity. It comes back to the reputation of this offense. It comes back to Josh Allen needing to be Josh Allen. And unfortunately, it comes back to things that we were worried about this offseason, which was in the preseason that was, the Bills running back room. Bills' top running backs have not tended to be top guys. They haven't tended to be the top 15 back that you want it to be in a great offense. Usually you want the top running back for a great offense. That's not the case here, it feels like. You got to keep rolling him out because he's showed you the ceiling weeks, and he's incredibly efficient running the football. 4 targets was great. I was excited with 4 targets, but It's disappointing, and I think you got to keep rolling them out. I know I have to. I'm in situations where I do have to, and I don't really have better options, especially with the landscape of the running back position right now in fantasy football. But
Right.
it's a bummer. It's a big time bum rush, dude. It's a big time bum rush.
And that's the worst part. You hit the nail on the head that we don't really have better options. He is not winning us, and I attribute him to part of the reason I lost by 0.8 points from this week. If he just done a little bit more, literally a little bit more, I would have won. And here's the schedule for the Bills season for the rest of the year, just so we have an idea of what some of these too good, too bad, too good, too bad weeks look like. They've got the Denver Broncos next. Then they have the New York Jets. Then they have the Philadelphia Eagles. Then they have a bye week. And then it's Kansas City, and then it's Dallas. So that's going to be really tough.
That's not great.
And the last 2 weeks of the fantasy season are the Chargers and the Patriots. So
you got to do a lot to like get there, but
I cannot wait for week 11 when I have Achan back, because I will be starting him over James Cook.
Yeah, that's where we're at. It's disappointing, and we wanted more from James Cook. Hopefully, he'll get more involved. Hopefully, the emergence of Leonard Fournette on the team doesn't hurt him too much. We'll see. Tony Pollard, 9.3 fantasy points, continues to be a disappointment. Almost scores a touchdown, gets called back on a questionable penalty, but I think same situation here. You got to keep starting Tony Pollard. He's the top running back in a talented offense, but not what you want. I don't know. It's for real, I think, but you got to keep starting him.
Same exact scenario.
Yeah,
same scenario.
Yep. Lamar Jackson, 11.48 fantasy points. In games where this should have been a game where it was competitive, but they just trounced the Seahawks, and they just ran the ball. That was it. They just ran the ball. They didn't have to throw
with anybody they could find
at all. Yeah, you got to carry for him this week. I'm pretty sure.
I did. I got a touchdown. I got called back. Pretty pissed.
Freaking zebras.
This is Fluke. I mean, the Ravens are probably the best team in the NFL. I'll support that.
Yeah, they look really good. They could be primed for a run there. Todd Monken, baby. Todd Monken.
Todd Monken.
Here's somebody I'm going to be annoyed with Todd Monken on behalf of. Zay Flowers, 2.1 fantasy points. One target in this game. I mean, I think we were excited about Zay Flowers being an every week start, and I don't think he is anymore. I don't think Zay Flowers is a must start every week. I think depending on where your roster situation is, you may be in a situation where you have to. I know I'm in leagues where I have to. Like, he is a guy, he's very talented, but one target. Like, what again, I know they're just running the ball a lot, but I saw a stat today that said Zay Flowers, since week 2, has had one game over 10 fantasy points. Like, what? That's a bummer. That's another big time bum rush, dude. It's not fun. And so he's very talented. I'm going to continue to start him and probably keep losing, but that's somebody that we just got to. I don't know. He's not a must start anymore in my eyes. So
that's fair.
Disappointing stuff. A couple running backs that were disappointing as well as Kenneth Walker III and Zach Moss. Kenneth Walker III, again, the Seahawks were just getting beat up. So I think this is a little fluky. I think there'll be better days. But Zach Charbonnet does seem to be getting more involved. What do you think, Wes?
I think this is a fluke. I mean, he's been incredible all year. And when you get down early and you get beat up and you get punched in the jaw like that, there's no point in running anymore. You just got to hope Geno can find the end zone.
Yeah. Zach Moss, 2.6 fantasy points. This is for real, right?
Oh, yeah. Zach Moss had a 21% snap count. Jonathan Taylor had 74%. It's exactly the way we thought it should be. Yeah, I'm happy as a Jonathan Taylor owner.
Definitely. Adam Thielen, 9.7 fantasy points, 5 catches for 29 yards on 6 targets. I think this is fluky as well. I don't think it's like a sign of things to come. I think it's just they were getting beat really badly, and Bryce Young looked really bad. Bryce Young looked really bad. I think I'm ready to call Bryce Young a bust.
Well, that's early.
I know it's early, but he looks really, really bad. Like the second pick six of the game, it was like a screen pass, and he
gosh, what a sentence
airmailed
to
it
just
over the second pick six of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a screen pass, and he just he put it like 5 feet over Miles Sanders' head on a screen. There were just some bad throw. I don't know. The Panthers messed up. C.J. Stroud easily should have gone number 1 overall. But I think I'm willing to say Bryce Young shouldn't have gone before Anthony Richardson. It is so disappointing. I mean, I don't know many Panthers fans, but I can't imagine they're thrilled. I don't think it's like a coaching thing. I don't think it's I mean, I know they're not the Dolphins, but they have talented players on the team.
No, I'll tell you, Panthers fans are still upset they passed on Justin Fields. So on Thursday, this is going to be the most heartbreaking experience for Panthers fans ever. Yeah. I mean, here they are. They watch C.J. Stroud just lights it up with 5 touchdowns, 470 yards. That's a record for best rookie performance by a quarterback ever. And he is playing nearly flawlessly. He has 1 interception the whole year.
Yeah.
And going into, I mean, we have other things to talk about too, but we'll just finish this thought, because going into the draft, it was Bryce Young. And then that pro day happened, right? And C.J. Stroud looked electric. Yeah. He looked mechanically sharp. It was unbelievably impressive. And Bryce Young passed. He skipped his pro day. And that was when everyone thought, oh, maybe Stroud goes first because he's going to be really good. And then, of course, just the potential of Anthony Richardson. And I'll say right now, up to this point, including these 2 games that we've watched, right now, C.J. Stroud is the best quarterback. Next would be Anthony Richardson. And then it would be Will Levis. Because from these 2 games, I feel like Will Levis has played better than Bryce Young. Am I wrong?
No, I'm just I didn't even think he was going to come up in conversation here, but I think Will Levis should have been drafted ahead of Bryce Young. That is insane.
The way this season has gone. And anything could turn around, because Dolphins fans will tell you got to give your quarterback time to mature, because Tua was on the border of being a bust, and everyone was looking at the quarterback taken right after. And Justin Herbert had everything going his way.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert doesn't win a lot of games, and C.J. Stroud hasn't won a lot of games, but next year, man, I'm telling you, this Thursday night is actually going to be worth watching just for the drama, because they passed on Justin Fields, right? The Panthers passed on Justin Fields, and then they take Bryce Young by trading DJ Moore to the Bears. And so now the Bears are going to come in with DJ Moore and hopefully Justin Fields and look Bryce Young in the eye and say, you're the one that, all right.
I forgot.
I'm just saying.
It didn't even click with me this is going to be a DJ Moore revenge game. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Let's
insane. Let's close out this segment. But, I mean, I'm telling you, there's something Panthers fans literally, the Wolverine meme where he's in his bed and he's got the picture and he's stroking it. Oh, they're looking at 2015. They're looking at Cam Newton and then MVP season and their 15-1 regular season. And anyway, let's finish out this show, man.
Yeah, let's go. Listen, DK Metcalf disappointing 6 points. And his quarterback, Geno Smith, 2.68 fantasy points. One of the worst performances I've ever seen from him.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if last year was a flash in the pan, or if it was actually he was. Maybe you should write back. Maybe you should say, I suck. I don't know. Maybe that should be what it is, Geno. But DK's been really disappointing this year. I had him as a top 10 fantasy wide receiver coming into the year.
Yeah.
He's been so disappointing. His day was saved by a 50-yard catch. That's it. This is for real for DK. This is probably for real for Geno. And last guy here, Devontae Adams, 7.4 fantasy points. Listen, the Raiders, I don't even know what to say about the Raiders right now. They won the Super Bowl on Sunday. I'll say that's what I'll say. They won the Super Bowl on Sunday. They were smoking cigars, looking to just clinch the division. Like they were just so hyped up, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Josh McDaniels sucks, dude. He was just so wound up. I guess I don't know.
Go buy Devontae Adams stock. That's my take.
7 targets is good for Aiden O'Connell. It's exciting to see, and good to see 5 targets for Jacoby Myers as well. Worried about the target share initially. I don't think Jacoby can get back to where he was at, but this is good stuff to see there for sure.